minha vida inteira. Jamais procurarei alguém que ame o meu amar como você. Não tenho medo nem insegurança. O sol nascerá e tu virás. Tenho confiança na sua intentação, tão conectada como um tendão. Eu tenho confiança na sua intentação, tão conectada como um tendão. Acredito em você, sei que tu tenho confiança em você. Sem dúvida tu virás. Sei que tu virás. Sei que tu virás. Sei que tu virás. Sei que estaremos mais conectados dia a dia. Amor antigo, mesmo que o tudo vem, mesmo quando estarei velha, sempre jovem a você. Ya tu amor, no te preocupes, fue creada para ti, ya tú sabes. No te olvides, fue creada para ti, ya tú sabes. No lo dudes, mi amor crece como abril. Te amo, te amo, te amaré. Me cansa el esperar. Ojalá juntos descansaré. Nos como
Peace and blessings, peace and blessings. First installment. This was something that was a long time in the making and it's coming to fruition. This is the Prince and the Professor podcast. I'm the Prince, Brother Meligil Safe, and that's the Professor, Brother Moray Kananya. And today we're going to have a very interesting, a very beautiful conversation. And this is going to be something I'm not going to be long with. I'm going to pass to the Brother Moray, but just tell you why this conversation is so imperative and why the conversations subsequently after this fact are so important. This was an idea that me and brother came up with almost 2 years ago. And those who remember the live streams that I still do every Saturday, mind you, we're gonna have another one today, was started because brother came to me and said, man, because we did an interview together on Brother Knowledge Radio, do the Knowledge Radio, shout out to Brother Knowledge. Said, man, we have pretty good chemistry and we probably need to create a podcast around our conversations, even though we agree on a lot of different things. Sometimes we have opposing views, and due to our perspective, due to our own life journey, has developed a certain nuanced approach that sometimes that we can have a particular, I don't say confrontation, but difference in opinions. But what we notice is throughout that dialogue, it helped us have a better understanding of the other perspective. It allowed us as men to work out our differences, to come up with a greater goal and objective, and it allowed us to test our communication skills, because both of us are well-read and learning and articulate, and we hang our hats on knowing what we know. So it made us refine ourselves in such a way that we knew we couldn't just bring anything to one another. So the reason I say that is because one of our opening classes was effective communication. How do you effectively communicate a particular point to your brother or to your sister to produce the desired outcome? So that's what this podcast represents, amongst litany of other things. That's what the Prince and the Professor represents, because he comes from a more scholarly perspective, and he's going to give his documentation. He's going to cite sources. He's going to do the whole gambit of what a accredited professor and, lettered man would do. I'm going to come on the more spiritual, geopolitical perspective and give a more social relevant perspective relative to whatever we're discussing. So it's going to create good discourse and dialogue, and man, we're in for a long journey, but a beautiful ride. Brother Professor?
Shalom, shalom. I want to welcome everyone to this new and amazing podcast. Like the Prince says, been long in the making. Countless conversations birthed this podcast. Countless amazing conversations gave birth to this podcast. Myself and the Prince have been having intense conversations regarding the plight of our people. We've been having these conversations for the last couple of years. Many of our conversations, in my opinion, have been epic, and I'm pretty sure they would have went viral if they were recorded. So we're preventing. So it was a little delay because it was on my end. I was managing and organizing myself. But we here, we ready, and ready to deliver to the people. We will be approaching topics from varying perspectives, as the Prince said. The Prince and I share a Black nationalist perspective. I would say I'm heavily lean towards Pan-Africanism, but the Prince does too, to some extent, because we've both been influenced by Prince ICL, who is his father, who is my father-in-law, in our opinion, is one of the greatest Pan-Africanists of the 20th century, along with others that worked with him in the KOY. So, yeah, we're going to deliver a very profound and dynamic perspective to different topics, and I'm sure everyone is going to enjoy these conversations. So, back to you, Prince.
Man, I appreciate it. And like you said, I'm pro Pan-Africanism as well, but you can't skip that step of Black nationalism. Black nationalism is the glue that holds Pan-Africanism together. And my development and cultivation in the Nation of Islam, which, I humbly feel is the greatest Black nationalist organization ever created, it's influenced me heavily. And so I see, being here in America and internally and dealing with the infrastructure of what the NOI did, but also what the NOI did, the Nation of Islam, the Nation of Israel and KOY, relative to the development in America, and the importance of having a strong nationalistic component even in the state of Israel. So again, not to belabor the point, we're going to have dynamic conversations. We're going to have, some opposing views, but it's gonna be civilized. It's gonna be cordial. It's gonna be respectful, but it's gonna be fiery. And hey, brother, let's jump right into it. I'm gonna let you lead off, Moray.
Okay.
You're gonna kind of
So
set the standard, and then we'll go from there.
So our first topic today, Prince, is my man 100 grand. Or I should call him 9 Billy Ye. He has that new documentary series out on Netflix that's pretty hot. It's on fire right now. And he's in the news quite a bit lately with his divorce. And so we're going to talk about him just a little bit because I think there's a lot of spectators who really have not followed Ye for the last 20 years. Like myself, I'm a big fan. I will admit, before we even get into this conversation, I'm a Kanye apologist. I'm a Kanye apologist, maybe a little biased being from Chicago, being that we about the same age. We even share some few friends. So I apologize. I sometimes apologize for his nonsense and the foolishness that he do. But I'm going to explain why. Why do I apologize for his nonsense sometimes? Or why? I'm not saying I apologize, but why do I'm not so harsh. I'll put it that way as other people are. So let me explain why I am okay being sort of a Kanye apologist of sorts. You want to say anything, Prince, before I get into it?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I'm from the city of Chicago. I love Kanye, as brother, articulate as well. I have kind of grown up to a lot of his music, him coming out with College Dropout that came out around the time I was coming out of 8th grade, going into high school. So he was very instrumental in my growth and development as a young man. And his lyrics, his consciousness, his uniqueness, him birthing what we know as the backpack rappers, but even having that nuance of that old gritty Chicago hip hop that was super conscious and super lyrical. But at the same time, I think we too often place our celebrities in the role of leadership, but hey, they don't want to see us great, unfortunately. But we coming right back at it, brothers and sisters. But as I was saying, we bestow upon our entertainers, our athletes, but in particular our entertainers, especially those who have a sense of consciousness, especially those who have influence culturally, socially, especially those who have accrued a certain amount of resources. We want them to be our leaders because it's easier for them to be our leaders because, one, it allows us to move a certain way relative to what they do. And then second, it allows us to put the responsibility on them so we don't have to be accountable for our own actions and our own freedom. So the context of the conversation which I'm going to be coming from is how important is having Kanye and others of that ilk represent the vanguard of leadership for Black people in America and throughout the world. So, Moray. Oh, okay. No, I think they saying they can't hear you. Say your volume is yeah. Let's see. Oh man, let's no. Let's see what's going on. Yeah, they can't hear nothing from you. Hold on one second. I can hear you, but they saying they can't hear you. Um, let's get this. You know, it's gonna be warfare at the highest level. Output in terms. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. No, they can't hear you at all, brother. Um, Broadcaster Pro. All right. That's it's very peculiar. Um, Let me see something real quick. Yeah, he muted for like a good 5 minutes too. They said that's terrible. I can hear you loud and clear. And the people want to hear you, brother. Let me see something real quick. Go ahead and say something. Go ahead and say something more. No, they still can't hear you. So something going on, but they can't hear you. Go ahead. Shit, try it. No, I still can't hear you. Still can't hear you. So we bringing them back in. We bringing them back in. Let's see if we can get that audio in now. All right. Still can't hear you. Mm-mm. That's because it ain't picking it up. So you know what, Moray? Just till we get this thing. Oh man. Can anybody hear Moray? Go ahead, Moray. Type in the text if you can hear him. Type in the chat if you can hear him. If not, Moray, I'm gonna send you that link again. We just gonna have to do it the other way, and then we'll double back on the Zoom piece. Okay? I know you pretty pissed about that. Hey, but we about to have this conversation, brother. So I'm excited. It's long overdue. No, they can't hear you. I'm listening to it on the playback. All right. So I'm gonna send you the link, bro. Or go. Let me go send you the link. All right. All right, brothers and sisters. Hey, listen, they cut my live off. We got the official Prince and Professor page. YouTube would not let us go live, so I had to come to my personal page. Yeah, what's the young people say, man? They won't let me be great, man. They just won't let me be great. But that's okay, though. Because, well, there's a will, there's a way. And we definitely got a will. So we're going to make a way. I'm going to go ahead and send this link to my brother. And we're going to get him through the original way that I wanted to do it anyway. But brother didn't like the way it looked. The camera, he couldn't blur out. So, it is what it is. But we're going to bring him in very, very shortly. Come on, let me get some questions, though, in the chat real quick. We're talking about Kanye right now. We're going to talk about a lot of dynamics. We're going to bring up that STEM player. Is he revolutionizing music? We're going to talk about the documentary. But we're going to talk about, more importantly, what's the relevance for our people? You know, what do these things mean? And why are they important to us? Moray coming in now. Moray.
Yeah, you can hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, brother. We can hear you. We can see you. You're looking good. Let me just delete something real quick, brother. New scene, take that out of there. It's garbage. New scene, take that out of there. It's garbage. All right, let me boom that. There we go. All right, bro. Hey, we're gonna have to start. Oh, hold on. We're gonna have to start from the beginning, brother.
All right.
We're gonna start from the beginning, man.
All right, we're going.
All right.
Okay. Okay. I got
You know what, brother?
get
It's
the-
okay. We're gonna get that figured out. Like I told the brothers and sisters online, we're gonna get that figured out. But one thing for sure, the show must go on. The show must go on. I told them that the YouTube page, YouTube wouldn't let us go live. I told them opening, they shut down and crashed my computer, so I had to restart over. And then now, Zoom, I can hear you clearly, but it's not picking up on the internal system, and I just can't afford to reset it and restart it again. Let's get it going. Come on, Moray. We had 7 people already in the chat. A couple people dropped off. Let's get them back in. Let's see how this conversation going.
Okay, so you back on?
We back on, brother. They hear you loud and clear.
Okay, I'm trying to send it again. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we good. Let's get it cracking. Now tell them the importance why we talking about Ye.
Give me 1 second, because I don't see nothing. Oh shoot.
What you
Where
want to
am
see?
Give me 1 second.
You sent the wrong link. You sent Yemiyahu a link to join the conversation.
Oh. Okay, I'm not sending the link out again. But
Hey, listen, we will add guests in later. Listen, that link that brother sent out, I'll let people come in later. You can ask us questions. You can bring in some good pertinent points. No long teaching now. We don't need nobody teaching for 40, 30 minutes, but you can definitely be a part of the conversation.
all right,
if you want to be a guest, we can set that up. Go ahead. It's all you, brother.
Okay, so you want to start all over?
I mean, they heard everything I said. They didn't hear what you said. So just I was talking about you were saying that you was a Kanye apologist and those different things.
Right. No problem. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the first topic was me and the Prince wanted to discuss was Kanye, now known as 9 Billy Ye, the richest black man in the history of America. He got a new documentary series out on Netflix I'm from Chicago. I think it's hot. I think it's on fire. I mean, it took me down memory lane. So, but there's a lot of spectators out here who, have not really been following Ye for the last 20, 25 years like myself. And so I just want to admit, even before we get into discussing him, that I'm a bit of a Kanye apologist. Maybe even a little biased being from Chicago. So I have to start off prefacing everything when I talk about Ye. I gotta say that maybe I'm a little biased, but because we about the same age, share some friends. He a little older than me, but so I'm a little apologetic for his nonsense because he does a lot of nonsense
Yeah. Hey,
and there's some foolishness there.
let me
And
say this real
so
quick, Moray. You talking about
yeah,
Friends? When I watched the first episode. I haven't seen nothing past that. But
right.
all of those original people, whether it be GLC,
Are you
whether
see
it be
you seen him in the streets?
whether it be
Yeah,
Don C, I said, damn, I didn't know I
yeah,
was that connected in Chicago. I
yeah,
know all of them guys.
yeah.
But
I
Soul
mean,
Veg, shout out
dude.
to Soul Vegetarian, which is the hub of consciousness
Yeah,
on the south side
yeah,
of Chicago,
yeah, yeah.
afforded me the opportunity to know all of those brothers on
All
a
the brothers
cell
from
phone number,
from Soviet.
cell phone number
I
basis. I still got a lot of
I
their
ain't
numbers.
s- I ain't seen the brother. I forgot what his name is.
Jay
What
Ivy,
you call
Woman
him,
is
Doncy?
Life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I haven't
Yeah,
seen him in quite a line, but I was
yeah.
like, dang, man. I used to have conversations with him at Soviet. But I knew some of them guys from the streets, like before I even came in the kingdom.
Yes, sir.
But so I'm a bit of a apologist, and I guess Prince is a bit of bias too. So,
Yeah,
but I think he gonna go in though. I think he gonna go in a little harder than me.
yeah. I
But
got to.
so I just want to preface that. So for me, in my opinion, Kanye, it ain't not since Bill Cosby has a black man at this level in entertainment or Hollywood, to me, has been fully committed to black empowerment. Now, there's a difference between black empowerment and black liberation. Black empowerment is the step you use towards getting your liberation. But it's really like the first level. And for me, I think he's committed to the first level of black liberation, but not fully committed to black liberation. So I just want to make that very clear. So he's like a quasi revolutionary, in my opinion. That's in
Yeah,
my opinion. And so, for me, he has a track record of being loyal to brothers, right? He has a long track record of being loyal to his brothers. And so for me, I believe that he can be a real asset for those of us that are fully committed to liberation of our people. I'm gonna repeat that. I believe he can be an asset for those of us who are fully committed to the liberation of our people. Ye will give towards the liberation of his people. I believe that 1,000%. And I really don't see anybody at that level, or haven't seen anybody at his level in quite some time, probably since Tupac, and Tupac never even really got to his level. I mean, he got to his level, but he didn't live that long. I haven't seen anyone at that level that would do the same. You know, maybe Bill Cosby,
yeah, yeah.
as far as entertainment, that was kind of committed to the black empowerment 100%. Like he was gonna dedicate his life, willing to give his life, willing to make sacrifices. Now I'm gonna, before I get to showing receipts to prove that Kanye been dedicated to black empowerment. Uh, you can go ahead. You can respond to what I said, Prince, before I give some receipts.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Again, I'm taking the position of not that Kanye isn't qualified and he isn't our brother and he hasn't done magnificent things. I champion brother Kanye, and it's going to be a time where we're going to cross paths and we're going to do some magnificent things.
Right.
But I have to speak to, okay, I've been trained in this, brothers and sisters. For those who familiar with me, those who know, my father is Prince ICO Ben Israel. My mentor and spiritual father was Brother Munir. My godfather, and I got to sit at the feet of the Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan. We can go on and on and on and on. Like those who I have a personal relationship with. So I got another perspective. I see things through a different spectrum. So I'm very serious about this particular work. And I think the dangerous thing about Kanye and those of the ilk is that they're in position to point to the man who is best qualified, or the men and women who are best qualified to take us out of this decadence, instead of keeping the attention on them. And I think that's where it gets murky for us. It's like, all right, you got to do that stuff. Damn, Kanye, can you leave the white women alone? I mean, see, those things send mixed signals. And you're saying, well, we can date and love who we want. Sure you can. But when you're talking about black liberation, and even when you're talking about black empowerment, everything matters. Because the very impetus or the foundation of a nation is family. And if we're not creating a family structure with like minds and similar experiences, how can we possibly bring into fruition this reality? Now, I'm not just using that alone, but it's a lot of things that distract our people, especially our youth, who are very malleable. They are easily suggested. And so they get caught up in the glitz and glamour. They get caught up in the Maybach. They get caught up in the eccentric nature of a Ye or different entertainers. And they get caught up in the fame and all these different things. And they lose sight of the liberation component. We get money. We develop resources and relationships, not for our own personal benefit, though that's inculcated. We get it because we want to bring into existence a world where black people are finally in position to determine their own reality. We want to bring into existence a world where white supremacy is no longer the order of the day. And so I'm going to let brother give receipts. So I'm just saying, I'm speaking from that position. It's hard for me to say, hey, Kanye is this, very strategic and, intelligent strategist. And the reason why he's, putting himself in these positions, he's amalgamating these positions, is to overthrow or to usurp the system. I can't see it, because how long and how deep do you gotta go? Okay, Balenciaga and all, okay, you with there. Okay, you got the relationship with Adidas. Okay, when is it enough? It's enough of us with enough information, with enough power, with enough respect and love and admiration for even brother Kanye, that we can do everything we want to do on our own. He don't have to still be in those circles for him to get the respect and love from his people that is needed to bring down the system of white supremacy. So I believe, and I'm giving way, brother, that he is sincere about the plight of black people. I just don't think he's qualified, because to really love our people and to make a difference, I mean, in all of the, different activities of life, you got to be 100% committed. And brother Kanye is just not 100% committed.
Definitely not 100% committed to black liberation. But black empowerment has been the way of the black bourgeoisie for quite some time, and many black bourgeoisie who are not entertainers have been committed to black empowerment, but they have not been fully committed to black liberation. And see, that's what Kanye fits into. That he fits into that role. Many of black bourgeoisie, I'm using that, saying that he's in that class, of the black bourgeoisie who's committed to black empowerment. And so that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's committed to black liberation on that level. And I don't think he even echoed black liberation in his music. I think Tupac echoed black liberation in his music, but I don't think Kanye ever echoed truly what black liberation actually means. So I agree with you. So I'm just saying that I'm gonna give people their mark and where they at. Give everybody a fair shake. In comparison to his counterparts and his peers, he's far beyond them.
Without question.
And so and so that's why I gotta give him something.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta give him the carrot and the stick. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But you gotta give him the carrot, and so that's what I'm doing now. You can give him the stick if you want to, Prince, but I'm gonna give him a carrot and you can give him the stick. Okay?
Yeah.
So
that's definitely a point. But you're a school teacher, brother, and when you got a grade on a curve, it's because everybody fails, so the one who got a C gets an A.
Exactly.
But the thing is, brother, is people out there that can pass the class with flying colors. You know what I mean? And I think that's where we get distracted. We discredit those who are best qualified for this for the celebrityism of those who we are comfortable with. And again, I got to go to the subconscious. I got to go to the psyche of our people. The reason why we associate Kanye and those of their ilk with leadership is because of some of the behaviors that we articulated allows us to feel comfortable with where we are at now. Hey, no, that's cool. Like, cause I like white women still. You know what I'm saying? I like chasing big booty, light skinned, ambiguous women. I like, doing all those things. Oh, cool. It's a place for that. But there's a place for that then, but we got to move past that at some point. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the whole thing. And then,
Prince, Jay-Z got a black wife. What that mean? So what I'm saying is that is a part of the discussion.
It's one component.
That's one component of the discussion. Facts. But what is the most important part of black empowerment, right? One, you gotta love your people.
That's facts.
And you gotta give back to your people. That's first facts. And foremost.
That's facts.
And so where Kanye starts, to me, is where he needs to start, by giving back. Now he ain't, and everybody got their place, but you can how many black entertainers got black wives that ain't really giving back to their people? It's a lot of them.
No, that's facts. I think again, and I promise I'm gonna let you go ahead and get them receipts. I think the damaging part is when we seen that Drink Champs interview, it damn near brought us into tears because we're like, not even, I'm a Hebrew and all that. Like, brother was talking about, hey, while all these other white billionaires talking about flying into space and going to Mars and going to the moon, hey, I want to build on this planet Earth that we already have. Let's build sustainable communities with gardens that centered around the vegan diet. And so, like, when we hear that type of stuff, it's like, oh, brothers for real. Like, we was even doing some things behind the scenes to even get closer to brother because we understood, hey, we've already established that, Kanye. So if you can put not just your money, but your influence together with the experience that we've already established, there's no way we can go back. Like, that's it. That's the missing ingredient. And then after he does that, and then he'll go you know what I'm saying? He'll run off with,
he's definitely distracted individual. He's definitely distracted.
And I see, so that's why that's like, all right, you're right. Everybody.
No, but he's not. Again, he doesn't fit into the category of a black liberationist.
Yeah,
he doesn't fit into that.
But we keep placing him in. So why can we keep placing him there? That's the key.
No, he not. And that's what I'm making clear today. He's in the black empowerment category, and he's, to me, sitting at the forefront of that, which is good because it's the liberationists like you and myself that have to team up with these empowerment people who want to empower us for the liberation.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Both components are important, and Kanye is playing his role.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's playing his role, and I'm about to bring receipts to show that this brother has been playing his role in the liberation of our people. He's been playing a role for quite some time because before we got cut off, I was like, his first three songs, to me, I mean, he brought consciousness, he made consciousness, black underground backpack rapper, conscious rap. He made it, put it in mainstream. It wasn't underground rap no more. When Ye brought it to the mainstream, he was saying things that even some of the underground rappers wasn't saying. Like his first song, Through the Wire, right? I'm going to read some of his lyrics, right? I just want the audience to hear it because there's a lot of people who haven't been following Kanye. There's even a younger generation don't even know Kanye. All they know is Crazy Ye. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And they really don't have any context to who he actually is. So his first song, Through the Wire, he said, what if somebody from the shot that was ill got a deal on the hottest rap label around? But he wasn't talking about coke and birds. It was more like spoken words, except he's really putting it down. And he explained the story of how blacks came from glory and what we need to do in the game. That was his first track. That was his first. He started off, this is what I want to do. I want to speak consciousness into the people. The second single was what was the second single? All Falls Down. It even got even dope in All Falls Down, Prince. He says, I say fuck the police, that's how I treat them. We buy our way out of jail, but we can't buy freedom. We'll buy a lot of clothes, but we don't really need them. Things we buy to cover what's inside because they made us hate ourselves and love their wealth. That's why Shorty's hollering where the ball is at. Drug dealers buy Jordans, crackhead buy crack, and the white man get paid off for all of that.
And now he ain't wearing nothing but Balenciaga. He ain't doing nothing but buying. Well, he bought Kim 5 Maybachs and he.
I didn't read the. I didn't. Actually, there's more to the song where he said I do. When he says he's a contradiction. He said he said I go to. He talks about how he's a contradiction even from the beginning. But he's also in doing that. He's being genuine. That I'm a walking contradiction. I want to be conscious, but I'm not fully dedicated. That's what he's saying. And so, which is to me is a good start because shoot, some people ain't even there. They're not even there. So I know I was gonna get a little pushback about Kanye. He's this double-minded individual, right? As you said, Prince, he's a double-minded and he's unstable in all his ways, right? He's double-minded and he's unstable.
That's what the scripture says.
Just what the scriptures say. And Kanye, if it was double-minded, Kanye's face should be right there. But I give Kanye credit for not being completely misguided, not being completely sold out. It's like there's a glimmer of hope with him. There's a little sliver of light with him that I can say, oh, we have a chance. But I can't say that about nobody else, Prince. I can't say that about nobody else.
That's true, brother. And again, we got to take what we can from who we have, and I'm with that. Again, so how I'm always thinking, brother, I'm thinking about the children who don't have the ability to discern. Like, we're old enough, and we're intelligent enough, and we're capable enough, and we're experienced enough, and we're well. See, me and you different, and some of our audience, most of them gonna be different. Like, we've been around the world, you know what I mean? We've been in different countries and different continents and spoke different language. So we're a little bit more tenured, we're a little more seasoned, we're a little bit more cultured. But for our brothers and sisters who Kanye is reaching, and we're using Kanye, but it's a lot of people that represent that spectrum.
For sure.
What they hear and what they see, they're not able to discern. So they end up chasing something, right? That end up being a fabrication, so to speak. It's like fool's gold. And then when they get there, after all of the selling the soul and doing this and compromising and capitulating, because the whole thing is, I just need to, because everybody starts, the drug dealer, bro, he starts off saying, I need to feed my mama, I need to feed my daughter, I need to take care of my family. You know what I'm saying? That's, at least all the brothers that I knew in the streets, that was the impetus. Yeah, you want some clothes. Yeah, you want to drive. Like, that was cool. But I'm talking about that Chicago gangster, that Chicago street dude. Man, he wanted to take care of his family, man. You get what I'm saying? So when he got into that life, everything else came, and then his what he was measuring his conscience from, it got lower and lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. And so it got to a point where he couldn't even indistinguish or differentiate what his original purpose was, because he's doing that 20 times over. You know what I'm saying? And then the allure and the
Prince, did you
lifestyle. And that's what I'm saying Kanye got to.
So
Kanye got addicted to the lifestyle.
Prince, did you see Genius? Did you see the documentary?
I seen the first episode. And listen, I was so moved from that. Couple reasons. Being a Chi-Town guy, that's, I lost my mom and my mother and Miss Donda West. I mean, if you wanted to know how my mom was, for those who never had a chance to meet her, that was my mom. She spoke life into me. She spoke life into everybody that she came across, the most sweet, genuine, educated, and articulate, but loving black mother that you could have. Like, the root of who I am. You know what I mean? So that stuff, man, that brought tears to my eyes, because I'm all that stuff, but then I'm looking like, damn. The very thing that he was seeking to destroy or to overturn, he ended up becoming a part of. And again, he on that spectrum. So he come in and
But
out.
but guess what? He's still figuring. I think I still see growth in him.
That's facts.
Like I see growth in him. Like he's still figuring things out. And so that's why I kind of give him. I see evolution of Kanye. But like he fell off. He fell off when his mom died. That's for sure.
That's facts.
Like he fell off the wagon.
Yeah.
And I think that's in that documentary. It really shows that he started hanging around different people.
That's
like
facts.
the guy Cootie. Cootie said after he blew up after the second album, man, he ain't seen him for almost a decade.
Yeah. That's facts.
And so all his friends changed, his environment changed, and he got sucked in. His mom passed away. He's dealing with the Kardashian stuff now. And so he just sucked in and now he's on the Molly Percocets, the drugs. Yeah. That's an influence that's weighing on his spirituality. So Kanye is actually, he may be a survivor of all this. We'll see. We'll see.
So this is the other thing then. I'm going to add to that. Let me add this little caveat. You're right. He absolutely can be salvaged. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. He absolutely can be salvaged. And I want to answer this point, brother. You see the question he got? He said, how do we heal not only Kanye? We're going to get to that. But that's why we're having this conversation. And that's why we're adding both sides to it. But the thing is, and this kind of alludes to that question, brother, can kind of give context. The problem why I'm a little weary of brother, because the crowd in which has caused him to deviate is the crowd that he still seeks to this very day. You get what I'm saying? Like, listen, I love the idea of family. I want every black man to be with the mother of their children if possible. But Kanye, to be the man that you show glimpse of being, that could never happen with Kim Kardashian. That could never happen with Kim Kardashian. You need to come back and get that beautiful black revolutionary sister that you started off with. That ain't gonna happen with the other little chick, the white girl he was running around with. And it ain't gonna happen with, don't get me wrong, the one he with now, the Shani Jones, beautiful sister. But she on some Instagram model being seen. She already know it's a game. She wants celebrity.
But Prince.
We got to get rooted again. So I'm saying he needs to be around the right people. He got relationships with Minister Farrakhan. He got relationships with different people, conscious people. He needs to root himself back in that type of environment. And then Kanye can be the man that we all know he can be and he should be. And hopefully by the grace of God, he will be. So to even give point to brother question, I'll shut up after this. Like, our environment is the incubator in which we heal and grow and become the better version of ourselves. But if we keep seeking these toxic environments, if we keep putting ourselves in position where it produces toxicity for whatever reason, Kanye, you don't have to be with them to sell a product, to promote a product, to be relevant. You became relevant with your sheer desire, will, and consistent effort of producing a conflicting narrative. You get what I'm saying? Like, I understood the rationale with the whole, buck dancing he did with Trump, because we all feel from Chicago, hey, he was trying to get close to Trump to get Larry Hoover Sr. out. You know what I'm saying?
Right. We all knew it was happening.
We all knew that, but you ain't got to do that either, though. Like, you ain't had to do the whole, George Bush hate all black people, but that authenticity, you know what I'm saying, is what, like, oh man, this brother's serious, man. Like, he's for real. Hey, Taylor Swift, yeah, you cool and all, but god dang well, the only reason you got this award, whether it was appropriate or not, his ability to speak truth to power, is because you're a little white woman. Beyonce, without question, deserved that award. You know what I'm saying? Leaps and bounds. So I'm saying, like, those moments was when he had some type of sense of consciousness around him, and his desire to move from that is what's caused his decay, man.
But here's the thing. I'm prefacing, right? It's not about Kanye healing Kanye or him having to be a reformed man.
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm concerned with the liberation of our people. If Kanye is in a position to empower people who are already, that aren't dealing with the the BS that he dealing with. Let him do that from the position he's at now. I'm not trying to because where he's at is a very complicated position.
That's facts. That's
Okay,
facts. That's
he's
facts.
in a very complicated position, and I'm not about to say, "Hey, brother, you know, you made $9 billion off your Yeezus. Don't market to those people no more." He just made $9 billion.
Yeah, yeah.
So I can't tell him that, but I can say, bro, okay, you doing what you're doing. I don't have to agree with it all, but I know you for the liberation of your people. Let's take, and I think this is what he's doing. This is what he's doing, and it's okay because everybody ain't gonna be saved,
Yeah.
and it ain't for everybody to be saved. But that don't mean people who not gonna be saved not gonna play a role in liberation.
That's
That don't
facts.
mean that.
That's facts.
They will play a role. And so you was talking about his divorce. I want to read, like, our brother is really having a mental breakdown as we speak with this divorce, right? And as a black man, as a father, as a husband,
Yeah.
I think a lot of men kind of relate to Kanye. Kanye is being very transparent because I think that's, he's this confident person where he's just gonna have a mental breakdown in front of the whole world, right? So he writes this poem. He says, "Divorce feels like your kids were being snatched from your control. Divorce feels like you've been shot and traffic is slow. Divorce feels like heavy breathing. Divorce feels like grandma never got over the cold. Divorce feels like suffocate." Like, this dude is saying some suicidal things, in my opinion, and he's really having a mental meltdown in front of the entire world. And so I want to say to our brothers and sisters, you know, man, we have to protect the assets that God and that Yah has given us. We have to do our best to try to protect. I believe Kanye is an asset, could be an asset, and I think he has been to some regard an asset to our people. And so if this man is having a mental breakdown in front of the whole world and is completely confused, it's not up to us to beat him to the ground. We have to be able to uh, try to connect with him to try to save him from his own demise, because he's the richest black man in the history of America. That means a lot. That's history. That means he has the resources to empower the institutions that you're talking about so they can take black liberation to a whole nother level. We need those resources. I'm not gonna sit up here and talk in the spooky spiritual realm that we don't need resources for liberation. I'm not in that boat. I know we need resources. I saw how the kingdom was built. I know how the Nation of Islam was built. I know how these organizations was built. They was built with people that was able to get resources and utilize those resources to build institutions that was going to help in the liberation of our people. And I'm saying Ye is at the level to now finance institutions at a higher level than even his predecessors for the further liberation of our people. And I'm saying this man can do it. He will do it. And we need to be more attentive to that. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. I'll give it to you, Prince, and then we'll move on.
Yeah,
I want to move on from Ye.
Yeah,
I want to
we
move on.
We can move on from Ye. So I guess we just have to wait and see. I guess that's the dynamic. We just gotta wait and see. Yeah. And I'm with you, brother. I pray. And even if he don't, he deserves to be honored, revered, and respected. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm that guy. Trust me. But at the same time, I just want us to be weary because, like we spoke about those children, they're conditioned in a different way than we are because we've already been contextualized. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have other images, right? We have other images that we can model ourselves after, that we could replicate, that we can learn from, that we can discern from. They don't. So when the best of what you have is that, and I think a thing that Kanye can do again is point people in that direction. Let me be this flawed, imperfect man that I am, but let me point you into the direction of those who you should be emulating. And I know he's grown into this position where he sees himself as this Christ now, so it's going to be hard for him to do that. We
This
ain't
new
necessarily got
religious,
getting that. You know, he articulated that, hey, I'm the boss, I'm the man, I'm the
yeah.
Jesus of this
Oh
time.
yeah, he said,
You know,
he definitely said that.
and that's dangerous, because he's got the money to perceive himself in that light. He has the connections and he has the influence, and he can move the needle in such a way, at least socially. You know, that gets kind of dangerous. I know we was gonna talk about the STEM player, but we can move on from that particular point, because the only thing is, has a STEM player become something that's revolutionary? Something that's been done before. Is something that is very unique and cheek and you know, hype beasty in a certain sense. Like, everybody's not going to really have a daily function for it. But his desire to make his album available only through that, if he stays that way, I think that's a beautiful thing. I don't think it's something that can be replicated, because when you're talking about at least a $200 entry point for an album, just one album or a couple albums, you know, that will make it hard for most people to purchase it, just because how music is priced, relatively speaking. Again, though, whenever you're talking about ownership, and most importantly, whenever you have an idea and able to bring it into fruition, which he did with the STEM play and other things, I think that's a beautiful thing. And that's one thing I will always commend brother on, is his ability to produce his ideas and bring them into existence and bring them into fruition, irregardless or irrespective to all of the naysayers and those who may be in opposition of his dreams, his goals, and his aspirations. But that's it for me, brothers and sisters. Definitely leave a comment on what you feel about the conversation in which me and the professor had. What side of the spectrum do you take? Is Kanye good for our people? Is Kanye okay for our people? Or he's just an entertainer? Do you believe Kanye has the ability to be a revolutionary spirit? You kind of was flip-flopping a little bit, because now you say he's not a black liberator, but then you say, I see him for the liberation of our people. I don't know, bro.
No, I said he played. He can play a role. I didn't say he was
facts.
gonna be a. Yeah. He can support. He could provide support for those.
You know, we agree on that. So black empowerment is definitely the main driving force in why Kanye is relevant to us, outside of him just making nice music that we grew up to. The next subject, brother, is Ukraine. This is a very talked about conversation, especially if it was late. You know, black people, whatever's going on in the news, whatever CNN and MSNBC and Fox News pump continuously and perpetually, we get consumed by it. Me and you've had some dynamic conversations about this particular reality, this particular event that's transpiring at this present moment. I'm gonna give way to you so you can kind of, contextualize it. But most importantly, I think our audience want to know, why is this relevant for black people? Should we pay attention? If so, why should we pay attention? And what are the ramifications that can be produced from this debacle that has the propensities, a lot of people believe, to be the new world war? So we enter into World War III, which is supposed to be the wars that end all wars, so to speak, even though that was supposed to be the last two wars. But should we care about white people killing white people? Should we care about what's going on in Europe? I think that's the conversation. And if so, why? Go ahead, Moray.
So I don't think we could have chose a more appropriate time to start a podcast. This is y'all's plan. So are we right on the brink of nuclear war? Question mark, maybe. First of all, for the record, white on white crime generally does not interest me at all. But in the case of this incident, Prince, I think we can agree that this may play a major impact on the geopolitical reality of the entire planet. It could. And I think that this topic deserves focus. Does Russia, and I think the question is for a lot of people, spectators, does Russia have a legitimate reason to invade Ukraine? So I answered your questions. Yeah, I think it deserves focus. So we're going to get into it. Why I believe it does deserve a little focus, and that it could maybe impact the entire planet. It could. But I think for the novice who not even really, just looking at it as a topic on the news. And I think the question is, does Russia have a legitimate reason to invade Ukraine? I'll let you answer that first, and then we'll talk about it. You know.
Okay. Well, absolutely. Does Russia have a legitimate reason to invade Ukraine? Absolutely. You know, we always say what determines ownership? Because we always say as black people, we want ownership. You know, we want the ability to determine our reality, and that comes from ownership. And I said, well, when you're talking about the last 6,000 years, relatively speaking, 2,000, well, 6,000 years, what has determined a people's ability to own something? And that's their ability to protect it. So, war, especially under the dominion of the white supremacists and European powers, is predicated on their ability to try to impose themselves on other European or Caucasian nations, and in particularly African nations. And to your point, before I go in further, the relevance I would say is whenever you see two white people fighting, is because they want to determine how they're going to govern and conquer black people. Every war,
That's
I'm
well
sorry.
said.
Yeah, I'm just
Well
saying.
said.
When you look at World War One, when you look at World War Two, the
Well
impetus
said.
was the continent. You know, when you
Right.
look at all the wars that preceded the Berlin Conference, and you know, it was to determine who would govern, who would control Africa. That's just the simple end of it. Hell, when you look at America, and you look at whether the French and the British was fighting, the new form American government, Mexican, which was Spain, the Spanish-American War, what was it about? Who will control these territories that are inhabited by black melanated people? So, in that regard, absolutely you should be conscious and aware, but you got to do so not with the lens of the European media that wants you to be sympathetic and empathetic for the Ukrainians. No, those people, man. Because they showed, and listen, for real though, because they showed when, you know, they were fleeing out what they thought about you. But I digress on that point. We'll come back to that.
We
Should
definitely gonna cut.
Russia invade Ukraine? Geopolitically, absolutely, Moray.
And
Absolutely.
so yeah, I agree with you. And so I'm gonna break it down to some people what's actually going on, and then we're gonna contextualize it. You already began to contextualize. Okay, what's the future of white supremacy beyond this point?
Yes, sir.
With this particular incident. So yeah, I agree. They have a legitimate reason to. Let's give a little background. If anybody knows the history of the former Soviet Union, it fell apart in 1991, and during that time, that's when Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia became separated. Right
Mm-hmm.
before then, the Ukraine was a part of the Soviet Union
Mm-hmm.
and had been so since 1921.
Mm-hmm.
Since 1921, it had a brief stint of independence after World War One, but a very brief
Mm-hmm.
of being independence for. So the people of Russia and the people of Ukraine are pretty much the same
Mm-hmm.
people
Share history.
ethnically, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for much of the 20th century, they were the same people politically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what happened? How did they lose? The Soviet Union failed, right? And what happened was when the Soviet Union crumbled because of the disagreements that was going on, there was people who wanted to have a better relationship with the West, and then there were people who did not, right? So you had the right, they say the right wing and the left wing, and so that's what really spearheaded the end of the Soviet Union. These disagreements that fell and became it kind of stemmed over into the political realm, in which the whole country just pretty much the whole country pretty much fell apart in 1991. So Putin has informed us that in 1990, right before the Soviet Union fell apart, the Ukrainians, or actually NATO, had promised the Soviet Union or Russia that they would not try to extend or try to make Ukraine and Belarus and some of those bordering countries of Russia a part of NATO. and we know NATO is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization that was designed back in, I think, in 1947, if I believe 1947. It was right after World War II. Uh, Several European countries came together. They signed a treaty that they would protect one another from actually Russia and Germany after World War II. And since then, since when it was first signed, the NATO has expanded. Most of the European countries are now a part of NATO, right? And so they're pushing all the way. They're pushing all the way to the east near Russia, to its border. And Russia is in fear that if these countries that border Russia become a part of NATO, that would give the West a strategic military advantage in any type of war. So they threaten Ukraine becoming part of NATO threatens the national security of Russia in many different ways, and not only Ukraine but Georgia and Belarus. So, Prince, you could kind of expound on what I said, contextualize a little bit
Yeah,
more, and then we can move on.
absolutely. Let's understand how Putin became in power and why he saw it so imperative that he had taken this position, of being the prime minister and the president, damn near for the last 20 years. He's occupied both positions, the highest authority in Russia. It's because he was a son of the Soviet. And so when you talk about the late 80s, early 90s, when you got the fall of the Berlin Wall and you seen the deconstruction of this world power who at one point was the only nation that was threatening America in the West. They had superseded and surpassed Britain, France, Spain, Portugal, China in the Far East, Japan in the Far East. The only threat because of their nuclear arsenal was America. And so after World War II, even though they were quote unquote on the same allied sides, they were in this bitter Cold War of espionage and the prospects of nuclear weapons being deployed on the other country. And the power, the patriotism that Putin experienced during that time and being a KGB member and inside of their army and whatnot, he wanted to recreate that. But finally see it to come into fruition where the Soviet Union would run essentially the whole globe. See, we're talking about global hegemony relative to European nations. All of them are fighting for world domination. Who would be the top dog? They know it was possible because for a brief stint, Britain ran the whole world. It was said that the sun never sets on the British flag. So Putin wanted to create and recreate the USSR, the Soviet Union. And so what he did that was strategic is that he got all of the Russian oligarchs, those big money guys that came out of the Soviet Union. He said, we're going to go on the ground for a minute. You allow me, you back me, you allow me to get in position. I'm going to re-strengthen our army, and I'm going to make sure at the appropriate time by using the money that we've accumulated through our criminal enterprises, because Russia has a humongous criminal enterprise, marry that with the ability to supply natural gas, which is the energy of Western Europe. That's how they heat up all of Western Europe, is through those natural pipelines of gas going from Russia all the way through Germany and Poland and all those different countries. So now they seem unthreatening and unopposing to these Western nations. But the thing was, okay, let's make a deal. As long as NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, do not go past this border, this line where Ukraine, right past Poland, Belarus, and those different countries, Crimea, as long as you don't go past that, which is strategically protecting Russia from being invaded from other nations. That's how Germany ended up losing, is because of that particular lot of land that allowed them to put on the necessary defense, especially in the winter months during World War II, where they were able to defeat Adolf Hitler. So Putin wanted to recreate the Soviet Union. So after the fall, so some of the things that he understood why Crimea, which they took, well, first you got to realize Georgia He had conquered Georgia in the early 2000s. That's a country on the eastern part. That's where you got Uzbekistan, all of those countries that were part of the Soviet Union as well, that border the Iranian, Afghanistan landmass. Now, he's seen, okay, we can take that. He got Georgia again, compromised that, used the same plan to get Crimea. Crimea was strategically important because of the natural gas resources they had offshore, which is essentially an island right outside of Ukraine. With the ability for Putin to reconquer that land and have dominion over it, now they were able to cut off the West's impact on tapping into those natural gas sources that they said that they will back Ukraine if they was able to get their hands on in Crimea. So you had Shell, you had British Petroleum, and these other corporations who were backed by the West, quite naturally, that were seeking to have a power dynamic shift that would ultimately not just weaken Russia socially, but financially and economically, because again, that's their life source. They don't produce nothing up in Russia. They don't have no exports like that. They don't have farmland and those different things that produce at a mass level the wealth that brings other nations in the West. So what they were able to do, and then they had lost a substantial amount of power in Africa. So now, since the fall of the Soviet Union, Russia didn't have the same influence on those African nations that it once did. So now their whole lifeline was based on those pipelines. So he gets Crimea. Then he says, okay, I see NATO trying to persuade Ukraine into becoming a part of the West. We can't allow that to happen. And not only did he, not just the economic, not the gas line, and not even just the territorial position, he understands the psychology of the people. When you create an external enemy and when you make a threat from the outside seem so overwhelming and imposing on the liberties of the people, now whatever you were doing to decimate the people and whatever you're doing to deprive the people of the necessary liberties of life gets overshadowed by the propensities of another nation invading them. So you make this foreign threat. That's what America has done historically throughout time, whether it be the war on terrorism, whether it be now the war on COVID and so forth and so on. Same playbook, same tactics. So you create the morale of the people in Russia now that we got to protect. Listen, we got to protect Russia from being invaded. We have to protect our borders by making sure that Ukraine, which is this big landmass in that region, is not compromised by the West, because NATO essentially means America. And so that's why Putin said, okay, we got to do this and we got to do this now. And then having the ability to have those atomic weapons and those nuclear bombs just gives him the gumption to do it whenever he wants. And so now he knows that, hey, you can't just attack him. You can't just respond, because always have the prospect of nuclear war. Do we feel it's going to get to that point? It's possible. I mean, we talking about the people that live on war and bloodshed that's dropped nuclear bombs before, but probably not just yet, because they don't want to jeopardize. See, their whole thing is just like America, Russia. People don't talk about it, are suffering natural decline as well. They're not reproducing. So the objective is to conquer as many lands as possible so they can enhance their population and they can strengthen their base. So going to nuclear war really don't behoove them relative to what their objectives is, but it's still something that they can fall back on relative to if America tries to impose its will on them in NATO and the Western civilizations. So just to kind of give a more context on why Putin and Russia said, okay, now is the time to invade Ukraine. Now you kind of got that historical context, and then you got the motives behind it, because there are many motives in why Putin is doing it. You know what I'm saying? Besides a big FU to America and to the West.
So I made a mistake. Actually, the NATO wasn't created in 1947. It was the Treaty of Alliance and the Mutual Assistance. That was established in 1940, which was the prelude to the North Atlantic Treaty in 1949. And so NATO began with France. Well, the original Treaty of Alliance started with just France and the UK. And then about 3 years later, the U.S., Canada, Portugal, Italy, Norway, Denmark, and Iceland came together and they formed the North Atlantic Treaty in 1949, which is the organization of the Europe of European powers that are actually what word could you use? Co-opting countries in Europe to become members, so they can challenge. Well, are they trying to destroy Russia? Are they? I think they trying to take the power away from Russia in the region for sure. But moving just a little bit, I want to talk about another aspect of this whole conflict. Is I think a lot of people, and Prince, maybe I think this is going to be an interesting conversation. Why didn't Russia join NATO? Why they are not a part of NATO? Why are they? Why have they been adversaries to the West for so long? Now, that's a few reasons, but one of the reasons that people don't really realize is that Russians are not purely European
Teach. Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
They're not purely European like that. So they definitely are white, and many of them, most of them, probably would embrace their whiteness. But there's a history that outsiders, especially people outside of Europe, really don't know about the ethno history of different types of, especially Eastern Europeans, right? So the Russians, who are the same as the Ukrainians, who are the same as the people in Belarus, and the same as the people of Georgia, they are a mixture of different types of people. They are a mixture of Europeans, of pure Europeans, I mean, Caucasians, and Nordic Vikings. And they're also, in their mixture, is Asians, Mongolians, right? They have a Mongolian background. They even have what you would call a Middle Eastern background.
Mm-hmm.
They are a mixture of different peoples. So for people in Europe, the Anglo-Saxon, right? The pure white man, as Adolf Hitler would have said, the people of Russia are not purely white and are not a part of the what did Hitler say of
The
this
Aryan
of
race.
the
Mm-hmm.
Aryan race.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why, and I think a lot of people don't know, this is where the tension, really, this is the foundation
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
tension between Russia and the West is their ethnicity,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Their ethnicity.
Yeah.
In fact, um, which brings this into point what happened with Ukraine. The reason why Putin is another reason to add on to the context of what you were saying, another reason why he had to do this is because the West has a history of invading Ukraine and
Mm-hmm.
threatening Russia. This ain't the first time.
Mm-hmm.
They've done this.
Mm-hmm.
The Nazis in 1942 invaded and took over the Ukraine and threatened Russia. Threatened Russia to take over Russia. Now, just to speak on how the Nazis viewed the Russian, I'm going to quote one of Adolf Hitler's generals, he was actually the general who took over the Ukraine. This is what he said when he got to the Ukraine. Now, remember, the Ukrainians and the Russians are the same ethnically.
Mm-hmm.
We are a master race, which must remember that the lowliest German worker is racially and biologically 1,000 times more valuable than the population here. So
Mm.
this is how he viewed the Russians and the Ukrainians. And the Russians and many of the Ukrainians, now some of them don't, right? Many of them know this history this racial tension or ethnic tension, if you want to say. They know about this ethnic tension, and so this is why there's been such a dividing line between Eastern Europe and Western Europe, that we Africans and brown people around the world not really familiar with this type of beef. Yeah, it's because Russians are not looked upon, have not looked upon historically as being authentically white. Now, today, I think the lines are a little more blurred. But especially back in the 20th century, they definitely wasn't looked upon as being what you would call an authentically white. And so they have always had a long-standing conflict with the white Anglo-Saxon going back centuries. And so this is important to note about this conflict and why Russia and in the West they just seem to not get along. It also explains why Russia has ties with China. They have ties with China because they share ethnicity with Chinese people. Because remember, Mongolia, the Genghis Khan, they conquered Russia and China in the 13th century. So, the Mongolians controlled Russia for nearly 300 years. So that's how far their bloodline is in Russia. And they also control China for an extent. So there's some ethnic shared ethnicity there with the Chinese. So they're simply a mixture of Asians and Europeans. And so that's why and this kind of affects their geopolitical reality as really sitting in the middle. They're white. They participate, as the Prince say, in white supremacy, but they kind of hold on to their traditional ethnicity, being a mixed people and keeping ties with China.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, that's critical. I don't know if people remember in 1996 when Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan did that world tour. He went to Russia, but he went to not Moscow, not the more Western Anglo-Saxon part of Russia. He went to the more Mongolian side.
Yeah,
and that's a key point.
Yeah, I remember that.
And there are Muslims there.
Right, sure is.
It's a lot to that correct. When you study the geopolitics and the social systems and the cultural development of these nations, it's very nuanced, and you can see where a lot of the infighting comes from. Because as much as black people are categorized as being tribal, so are Europeans.
Yes,
they're very much so. When you look at how the Romans fought the Britons and those different times. So the Greeks and the Romans, all these were different ethnic tribal groups that had conflict with one another. So that's a key point. So I think the next thing we go to, Moray, is, okay, what do black people do with this whole thing? What does it mean for us? You know what I mean? Like, because again, we involved in it, even if it's just our energy and our attention. Right. You get what I'm saying? Right. Not so much we involved in it, but hell, there's black people being deployed over there as well. You know what I mean? We fought in every war. So let's not omit that point too. But for the scholar or for the layman, why is this important for us?
Well, I say, as far as I would expect more of the same. As far as the future or what's going to happen, right? This incident, I do not expect things to change the direction or disrupt global white supremacy. Yeah, it's not. Russia will be more likely. This is what's going to happen, Prince. Russia will annex eastern Ukraine, and they're going to leave the rest to the West to clean up. Yeah. The West is not about to go to war over World War III over Ukraine. They understand why he doing it. Remember, they promised in the European knew and the Russian knew once the Soviet Union what was going to be the issue. They knew this. And so the NATO had promised, oh man, we not going to approach y'all. Y'all going through y'all thing. We'll let y'all go through y'all thing. We not going to threaten y'all national security, and blah, blah, blah. We're going to try to seek relationships with y'all. And at the same time, NATO just been spreading eastward, and more eastward. Now they at the border of Russia, right? Yeah. And so they knew, so they're not about to go to war because in a sense, the West knew, you know what I'm saying, what he was going to do and knew that they know he had to do what he had to do. Hey, so ain't no love lost there.
That's big. Ain't no love lost. And I want to go to that too. But when you saying that, I think about, so we look at the fall of the Soviet Union from the collapse of the Berlin Wall. You know, the whole Reagan thing,
Right.
tear that wall down, that whole thing. Where was that placed? It was placed in Germany, right? Because you know that was all part. Germany was half of Germany was owned by Russia. That was part of the deal at the end of World War II because it strategically put them in more Western territory. Now,
Right.
remember, Germany was decimated after World War II, not just, you know, infrastructurally, but economically, similar to what
Right.
happened after World War I. Russia right now is not just, Germany is not just accepted as far as the global power structure, but they're the most successful economic system in
But
Western Europe.
Check this out, Prince. NATO was created for resistance against Germany.
Facts. Facts.
It was created to go against Germany, and guess what? Now Germany is one of the foundational pieces of NATO right now.
It goes to my point. You know, no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, just permanent
Exactly.
interests. So what they did
Right,
was
exactly.
they bought off Germany. Hey,
Exactly.
we're going to give you the power, the money, the infrastructure, and the protection to reclaim your former prominence, but you just got to play ball.
Right.
Ain't no more of that trying to
That's
take
it.
over the world type of thing.
Yeah.
And so when you look at the dynamic with Russia, you asked earlier, why is Russia always at odds? Because it has never taken that stance. They're looking at it, even if most of the land is uninhabitable. They say, hey, man, we got all this damn land. We are essentially all of Northern Asia and Europe. You know what I'm saying? We got these nuclear weapons. We got this history. You know, hey, for most who don't know, it was a black man who helped develop not just the Russian language, but a lot of the infrastructure in Russia. But that's another conversation. But you got this history, this famed history. They're like, hell no. We want a piece of this pie too. And that's how Russia sees it, because they understand that there's no longevity with Russia being strategically positioned there without having the ability to expand itself.
Right.
Again, Russia doesn't have any resources outside of the natural gas that can sustain the people if they were isolated. Their life depends on them expanding and being a world power and conquering other nations. Their longevity does. I said earlier, they're in natural decline as well. Part and parcel is because there's not enough resources to be shared amongst the people because of the harsh climate and environment to keep the people protected and sustain life. So the last thing they try to do is procreate and all those other things, especially when they essentially have been isolated from the rest of the world. But again, why is that important for black people? This is important for black people, this particular junction in time, because it shows us that we have to get our SHIT together.
Right.
All that we do is in response to what other European nations are doing. Oh my God, we hope they don't blow up the world. We hope they don't go to nuclear war. Well, damn it, man, if you don't get some gumption and do for self and protect yourself where you can be in power, now they have to be worried and concerned about what the black man does in America, what the black man does in Africa, because you are the determinant of the realities of the world. This is why we're talking about black empowerment. And not to bring Kanye up again, but I'm saying we're at a crucial point where we don't need no back and forth, no distractions, no double-mindedness, no indecision. It has to be total black empowerment, total black liberation, or nothing at all, because our lives are on the line. It has nothing to do with Kanye, it has nothing to do with that person. I'm just saying, if we don't really aggregate our resources and galvanize around being black supremacists, as you like to say, meaning that we have the ability to determine our own future and the future of the world, then we're always going to be not just at the bottom, but we're always going to be responding to what somebody is doing or what they're not doing. Look at that's what we said about COVID. Hey, damn, man, whether it's true or not, whether it's real or not, whether the vaccine is deadly, whether it's not, all of these things we don't have any determination over because we don't produce it and we don't control the distribution nor the narrative. We don't control our environment where we can protect ourselves from this type of onslaught, and we can produce whatever we need to sustain ourselves, so we're not susceptible to whatever insidious plans or schemes and schisms that the European has. The track record is clear as day. They live and they sustain themselves off murder, off rape, off pillaging, off plundering, and most importantly, war. War is the order of the day. The greatest advent or the greatest export of white supremacy is war. That's what they do better than anything else. They produce war. There has never been a time where Europeans have not been at war with something. That's something. Look how they talk. Oh, it's the war on terror, this invisible substance. Oh well, now it's the war on COVID. They so tired and so used to killing people. They said, hell, well, let's put a war on something we can't even see. We're going to war with biology. You know what I'm saying? We're going to war with pathogens. You know, the nature is of war. That's why they never talked about, hey, let's, eat better. Let's, change our diet. Let's exercise more. No. Let's use this syringe, this injection, this inoculation to fight it. Let's create a weapon and use it to try to destroy, quote unquote, this enemy, even though we know it's some more duplicit and insidious components to it. But what I'm saying is, brothers, so why this is important, because it's a wake-up call. How long are we going to continue to be at the behest of a society, of societies, of cultures, of people that not only don't have our best interests, but everything that they do seeks to destroy and decimate us? When are we going to finally realize while they are at war, we should be unifying, we should be uniting, we should be bringing our expertise, our intellect, our intelligence together and creating enclaves amongst ourselves so that we don't have to be in a position where it's contingent on whether they decide not to go all the way or not. And I give way to you, Brother Moray.
So I think we both agree that this is not going to be the end of the world. This is not how he's going to go out over this. At some point, like these treaties were made, and Germany was once the enemy of the West, and now is the foundational piece of the West, one of the foundational pieces. Eventually, Russia and the West will reclaim their relationship or even improve their relationship because their existence depends on it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that for us, I want us to understand that, this is them fighting against each other is not going to change our position. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to do anything for us. Things are going to go on business as usual. And what we've talked about in the past, Prince, is see what Russia and the West and China all agree on is dehumanization.
Facts.
They all on that program.
Facts.
Right? They all are tirelessly working together to destroy the planet, right? They are, and to destroy human life and to create artificial intelligence. They all, Ukraine is one of the top tech countries in the world.
Yeah.
Tech countries in the world. They got some of the best, for what I read, they got some of the best tech universities in the world in Ukraine. That's why
a lot of those Africans over there. That's why a lot of those Africans
were there.
Yeah.
They was at them tech schools. And so I just read, and just to even prove the point, I just found the article. Our brother, or I don't even know if you call him a brother because he trying to put a microchip in his head. He's not even a man. He's not even Elon Musk.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call him. He's gonna be a cyborg.
That ain't our brother. That's another. Yeah.
Right. He a cyborg. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Elon Musk. He has a company called Starlink. I don't know if you know about this.
Of course.
Prince.
Yeah.
Okay. So he was asked, was Starlink not going to publish Russian news sources? And he said, man, we gonna continue to publish Russian news sources, and you will have to put a gun to my head for me not to. So this is where they all on the same page. You know what I'm saying? This is where they all on the same page. So they may have some a little conflict there about who's going to get the biggest piece of the pie, but at the end of the day, they all one pie. They together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we can't be disillusioned by that. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing for them to give up 500 people. They don't value human life like that. They don't value human life. So it's nothing for them to get into a war and 2,000 of their soldiers die because they don't value human life. You know, we looking at it like, oh, they trying to kill each other.
Yeah.
But that's like you say, the people that's their nature.
That's their
You know what I'm saying?
nature.
That's their nature. So we looking at it as, but man, these people gonna be shaking hands and drinking wine and sipping beers in the next year.
Yeah.
Putin to be in the White House. It'll be nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It will be nothing. It'll be an afterthought.
Yeah.
What's going on in Ukraine? So don't get disillusioned that these people are really at odds. They having a minor conflict that has a historical past, right? It does deal with ethnicity, but at this point, I think whiteness has become much broader than back in the time of the Nazis, right?
Yeah. But it has
Even
to,
Jewish
for
people,
survival.
even Jewish people are looked upon as being white, when at that time they wasn't. So whiteness has become a very broad thing now, opposed to in the mid 20th century. So as far as what we need to be prepared for, we we must not let the Western media and mainstream media put us into this circle of fear.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Keep us distracted
Yeah.
with what's going on there. Don't be distracted by that.
Yeah.
We have to be focused on what the prince said, us coming together and working and building relationships so we can actually build institutions so we can protect and shield ourselves from this type of chaos and anarchy.
That's facts. I'm gonna give to my brother Jared. He asked about when I was speaking about the black man who founded the modern Russian language and was the architect of a lot of Russian literature in the 1800s. His name is Alexander Pushkin. I put it in there in the chat. He was the son of a brother that was kidnapped from the Congo, Hannibal, Abraham Hannibal, who was the Tsar at the time of Russia, had kidnapped him, but he kidnapped him because he was such an intelligent war strategist and military strategist. And when Russia in the 1700s were conquering, it was because of the black man giving them strategies. And he's not the Hannibal that we're familiar with. It's another Hannibal, Abraham Hannibal. Yeah, but that's so he comes from that lineage. And Alexander Pushkin was a mulatto, but very.
You said Abraham Hannibal?
Yeah.
Was he considered a Jew?
So some people say
that's interesting.
Yeah, he was a Hebrew. Some people say Muslim. Some people say it was Ibrahim Hannibal. Some people say it was Abraham.
Oh, okay. He could have been. He could have been a Muslim.
Yeah, he could have been both. But he was. He definitely influenced by the Abrahamic faiths. That's for sure. Coming out of coming out of Congo.
That's clear.
Yeah. So that's
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, which is very interesting. So that's that.
That's
so again, Moray, as we start to wrap up, I guess let's go to this the future of white supremacy. I know we both alluded to it to a certain extent. I think we kind of said the importance of the Ukraine kind of as it develops. Quite naturally, we'll come back and readdress those different events and different details. But as of now, I think we gave the history, we gave context, and at the same time, we kind of gave a direction why it's important for us, man. But I will say this, man. That's another clear sign. Hey, man, we be running over to these European nations thinking that it's some reprieve over there and that the racism isn't as blatant as it is in America and other places, and we get a very rude awakening. I wanted to play some games. We'll do that next time, but enough of us have seen it. Not only did they get beat in Ukraine and disrespected, when they got to Poland, which is supposed to be even a safer place, they were met with the same type of aggression, the same type of abuse, the same type of white supremacy.
That's because hold on. With a faction of the National Guard, and see, this is why we really can't Black folks trying to sympathize with Ukrainians. Yeah, they foolish. They don't know the history. There's a faction today in the National Guard of Ukraine that's a neo-Nazi organization
Yeah.
right now
Yeah.
that defends this Jewish president.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are neo-Nazi militia groups in Ukraine
Yeah.
right now that are part of the National Guard. So the racism in Ukraine is very thick.
Yeah.
Very thick, and especially thick. And you got to know, one of the reasons why the racism is very thick is almost like the Italians when, they seem to be the most racist, blatantly racist in America, where they would get into fisticuffs with black people. You know what I'm saying? That's because they was insecure about their own ethnicity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So they be the more blatant one, right? That insecurity, knowing. There you go. Yeah. So that insecurity there, even with these Eastern Europeans, they know they ain't white. They want to be white, right? So they think they're going to try to outwhite the white man. You know what I'm saying? And so they racism is even more thick. So you're right. Going into those Eastern European countries like Russia, you're going to experience even more blatant racism that you would in the Anglo-Saxon. Because these people are...
I'm sorry. No, you're right. I just want to get this quick little story. My mother told us she used to travel for work. She was part of a company in America called HRDI. It was a human resource substance abuse. And so they would send them to different, retreats and, have different conferences in different countries. One of the countries she had to go to was Austria, which we know was connected to Germany, which again is tied into that thing. She said the racism that she felt there was unlike anything she had ever seen in America. She said, it ain't just I call you nigga. They said they pretend you don't even exist. And if you cross that line, then they get so blatant and belligerent and physical. You know what I'm saying? That, it shows very real, in real time, it shows very much the nature of these people. So again, the reason why we're alluding to these points, because a lot of these things we can save ourselves from by just staying out the damn way, man. They're staying out the way. And my brother said he was a part of the Army, and it's functioning that, you can learn a lot. But we got to use the intelligence, that experience to now fight for the liberation of our people and use that for the necessary plans and strategies that will ultimately bring into fruition our freedom into perpetuity. Because, again, fighting their wars have no benefit for us. It does nothing. We just helping them kill, even if they are killing other Europeans, it's again to conquer us. So we just killing ourselves, And I think, one of the brothers that was in Vietnam War, he said when he had first encountered the Vietnamese, and don't get me wrong, they don't necessarily see themselves, but they was able to distinguish, hey man, they wouldn't kill him at first. They said, hey man, we ain't at war with y'all. We ain't got no beef with y'all. You know what I'm saying? It's with the white man. This is what,
exactly.
This is what they saying. Like, we know y'all ain't doing shit. Like,
same thing with the Native Americans. Native Americans, like, why y'all jumping on us? We ain't got no beef with y'all.
Ain't got no beef with y'all.
Same thing.
Excuse the language, but that's the reality, man. And so, I think we laid that out. So the future of white supremacy, brother, as we close out.
It's going to continue to be more of the same until we develop the necessary institutions to put ourselves in a better position of power. That's it.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing about to change. This is not going to affect white supremacy at all. This is just a small bump in the road. They go through these type of things and they'll resolve it. And like I said, Putin will be visiting America in the next year, 2 years, and this will be an afterthought. I'm telling you.
That's facts. Brother said when he went to Iraq too, they said the same thing. He said they had the same sentiments. Hey man, we ain't about to fight y'all. Our war ain't against y'all.
Right.
And that was just 20 years ago.
Right.
Really now, we have racist nationalist guards in the units here. Oh, absolutely. Especially out there in LA. Not to get off subject, but one thing that they have been exposing is the white supremacist element in the Los Angeles Police Department. And what they unearthed is that in a lot of those smaller counties, that to even be a police officer or a sheriff, you have to be already involved in a white supremacist gang. Like that's a prerequisite to even be in the police. Like, no, you got to be, because that's the only way they're gonna trust you. In the sense,
We ain't got to go to LA.
No,
we ain't got to go to LA.
Absolutely, we got it
Man,
right here in Chicago.
We know that Chicago, man. Yeah. Please, man.
Yeah, facts.
We sleep on them. We sleep on them guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in Atlanta right now. It's interesting because Atlanta itself is like the police department is maybe 95% black, but Atlanta is a small city, brothers and sisters. You got the Atlanta metro area that makes it look bigger, and a lot of things kind of get pushed into that. But once you get outside of Fulton County, you know you in Georgia. So, again, we got it's everywhere. I'm saying it to say it's everywhere, even when it perceives to be more progressive or we seem to be in power, because we haven't really codified with one another and unified on a complete understanding of black liberation. You see those dynamics at play in so many different ways. So you're absolutely right. White supremacy is going to be here into perpetuity unless we remove it. They have no interest in removing the very life source of their world.
Russia is not our friend. Russia ain't our friend.
Russia's not our friend. Hey, China is not our friend. And we can go on and on and on and on. You know, we already know about Britain and America and everybody else.
China may be more friendly, but they're not our friends. You know
like it's spectrum.
I'm not gonna put them in the same category. See, I'm not gonna do that, Prince. Yeah. I'm not putting them in the same category. As the Gentile, as we say.
You know, in the Nation of Islam, you know, they said the yellow man, red man, those all steamingly possibly.
Oh, we ain't getting into that topic. Yeah, we know the Japanese. You know, the messenger was very close with.
I'm on the belief, man. If you don't identify as black, you're an enemy, man. That's just my belief, because we see that vitriol and we see that disdain be actualized in too many instances. You see what I'm saying?
That's another show, Prince.
That's another show. We done. So we done with it. Hey, we're going to end here, man. Any questions before we end? You know what I'll do real quick? I'm only giving a couple minutes though. I'm gonna put the link to come on. I'll bring you on if you got something to say real quick. I'll bring you on, and we can kind of go real quick. I'm gonna put the link up. That's the link. Come on, be a guest real quick. You want to say something? Give a shout out, add some context. Just don't be long-winded. You know, I'm not as egregious as some people. I ain't gonna just cut you off, but you know, respect. We have communities from within. Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Man, this brother been on point, man. I love this brother, man.
What was that he said? We have communities from within that give white supremacy.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Georgia! You know, I mean, as much as a lot of the black power structure in Atlanta is black in their internal, they still submit to white supremacy, and that's why
that's the dynamic I was telling you about, Prince.
Facts.
They about black empowerment in Atlanta, but they ain't about black liberation.
No, they ain't about black liberation.
Same with Kanye.
There's no reason why.
But they are committed to black empowerment down there. So I gotta give them that.
I give them that. You're right. But I guess again, our exposure has jaded us to a certain extent that black empowerment ain't enough if you ain't being liberated, man. Cause you know.
But see that's up to the liberators to harness the energy of the people who are willing to. Yeah. It's the liberator's job to liberate.
Facts. That's facts.
They not liberators.
That's facts.
Is it?
That's facts.
But they dare to be utilized for our liberation.
In an advantageous way. That's facts.
Yeah. I can't look to Ye to liberate me, bro.
That's yeah. So
but I can use him to liberate me, though.
Yeah. That's facts. Any closing remarks? Morey?
Oh no, I'm good, bro. Man, this was an amazing show. I'm interested to go back and hear, you know, just how good the dialogue was.
Yeah.
I hope we provided some different perspective. we gonna get better and better as we continue to go. The topics are gonna be much more even continue to be
Yeah.
interesting. I thought this was an interesting topic, so I think we fulfilled our objectives and our goals here, and so I feel good about it.
Okay. I got a caller came in. Let's see if we can bring him in real quick.
Okay.
I guess 3. See where I can put him at. Go ahead, brother. Yeah, let me see. Let me take you out the green room. I gotta unlock it. Can you, brother? Now, go ahead, brother.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear you loud and clear. We got our brother Nadav on the line, calling in from Israel. Our brother, our
Right.
friend. Go ahead, big bro.
Mm-hmm.
They can't see you, but they can hear you.
Can't no one see me, you said?
No, they can't see you, but they can hear you. We'll set it up next week before we can see you because I got to create another window view. Otherwise, I would have to take out brother or myself and want to do all that. But they can hear you loud and clear.
All right, cool. All right, cool. So I just want to begin with addressing a couple topics. Hey, I want to address the fact that Brother Malik, you're safe. You on point. You on point 100%. As far as black nationalism and as far as saying how we need to empower our people and how we need to liberate our people. And Brother Murray Kananya, I know you admire Kanye West and you addressed his first song. Well, all artists, their first song is normally 99% positive when they first come out. But down the line, they begin to sell their soul once they compromise to get them big bucks. So Kanye West, he also have this song with Jay-Z. Was a king to a god, was a god to a non-believer. All right. So, I mean, that song itself, you got to acknowledge that itself as well. And like Malik Yosef said, we got to be 100% with ourselves and return back to this strong black queen. I can express on that because I myself was a victim to also that toxic environment in the past due to being in a white supremacist state, which I don't want to give no acknowledgement to. I want to always acknowledge this land that I'm in, that I was born in, as a land and not a state. I have no desire of giving the state no form of clout. I have no desire of giving business that was shaped and formed by the Anglo-Saxon man no form of clout.
Nadav, I want to before you go there, I wanted to
Let me
address
continue.
with
Let me continue, brother. Let me just finish my train of thought. I have no desire of giving no one who is perceived to be good in high tech or who is perceived to hold in big billions of dollars, no form of clout. Because the question is, was it obtained with an integrity manner, with a manner of morals and principles, or was it obtained at the price of being buck broken in? And if it was obtained in that manner, we really don't need the support. How about we go to the idea of not render to Caesar's what Caesar's, but how about we go back to the idea of the money that is shaped and formed? It comes from the natural resources of ours. The paper that we spend on clothes and shoes is from the source of the trees. The coins is from the source of the metal that was shaped and formed in the soil. So this topic that we were speaking about, that I've been in tune with ever since the very beginning, my wife and I, we are listening, but Brother Melik Yosef, he is presenting a strong topic, Bray Kanaya. And it is my desire, my positive desire, mine's and my wife, to see that strong militant, that strong representation for us as a people. Business is not going to be the same as usual. No, it is our time now to rise up and to exude that power, to exude that accountability, to start shaping and forming, to actually design policies. We are not just on defense. We need to be on offense as well. You have me. You have Make Your Safe. You have all of us.
Okay.
This is the time.
Okay. I got you, but you went. I hope you heard everything, and I hope I presented everything.
Everything.
We're talking.
Support with
We
money.
we 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 talking about black empowerment and black liberation, right? And we made those distinctions about what is empowerment and what is liberation. You're talking about the full liberation of our people, which is what we're talking about and what we focus on. We were talking about, and what I was addressing is that this particular individual named Kanye West is dedicated to black empowerment, but not dedicated to black liberation. And so we got to be able to make that distinction, but we
That's
also
what I
give
didn't.
our people.
That's what I wasn't in agreement with, because empowerment is sincere liberation. Meaning, you said the liberation is for the liberator job to do, but the liberator is he who empowers. Once you empower, power simply means ability. It is our duty to equip the individuals, our people, with the ability to do. Because we are not equipping them with the ability, that leaves them to be what? Disabled. So everyone is going to be walking around here with a disabled card, with a disability card. And that's what is going to allow the white supremacies at this day and time to continue to pacify us with television, to continue to pacify us. Give me 1 second. Okay. You're not okay. You're not really empowered if you're not liberated. That's the thing. You're not really empowered if you're not liberated.
Okay, you're right based on the way you're saying, but black empowerment is process. Black empowerment is not the end result of something, it is the process and the means to something. And so when we break down the meaning of these words, empowerment is process. It is not the end result of something, it is the process of something. And so what I was simply saying that actually when you are your brother's keeper, when you do invest in your community, when you do invest in your brothers and your sisters, that is in a form and a process of empowerment. And so I guess I have to go back and see what I did say. It was some things I didn't say because we had got into a long
In
conversation
addition to what you're
about
saying,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Professor Morex,
yeah.
when you analyze the Great Debaters, the movie
Hmm.
that Denzel Washington was cast in,
Hmm.
what did the woman say when she
Hmm.
was having the great debate with that university? She said the time is always now. We know it's a process, but in this process, okay, it's now. Like Melik Yosef and we are saying that the time is now, that the time for us to manifest our thoughts into experience, into reality, is today, is now, not tomorrow. What he's saying is the time for you, I, and him, and other like-minded brothers, is for us to come around the table and to start legislating policies now, legislating
Okay,
policies now, and
I,
implementing them.
I'm not.
That is
I
our
hope you
objective.
know. I hope you know that's not what you saying is not what I'm saying. What I'm not saying. What I was simply saying is we acknowledge people who give back to their community or who practice a form of brotherhood to a certain extent, and we try our best to invest in them to get to where you're talking about. We invest our time and energy to people who show us something to help them get to the level in which you're talking about. So I think some of what you said is kind of out of context to what I'm actually saying. I'm not actually saying that. I'm actually saying that we're simply acknowledging a person that's in the news cycle, a person that's in the forefront of Hollywood, a celebrity that has influence in the black community, and we're contextualizing him so people can understand what his value is and what his value is not. You
Okay,
understand?
yes,
Yeah.
let me hit real quick.
my critical thinking on that on Kanye West is that because he's a part of the boule, okay, the black wealthy people. All right.
Right.
Remember, like you said, he can point us to the guy who got him there. All right. Now he can point us to the guy, the liberator, quote unquote, and have him change some of his ways. What Melik Yosef and I is saying is that we are not asking them for permission to be free. We saying that we need to concern ourselves with our people. We need to, first of all, understand the power and the concept of death and life exists in the power of the tongue.
Nadav, I'm
Let
not
me just
saying that,
finish my
right?
train of thought.
No. I'm saying
Okay,
you
I'm gonna
have a
speak for
train of
myself.
thought.
I'm gonna speak for myself. I'm gonna speak for myself.
No,
Sorry.
I'm just saying that when you get on here, you have to speak from the position that I'm speaking from. You can't say that I'm speaking from a position that I'm not speaking from. You understand what I'm saying, bro? You have to be integral in the conversation so we can make sure that we put forth a product of integrity. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
Because
so I'm
I'm
gonna
not
speak from
saying
this
none of that.
integral part. You said
Yeah.
you said that we can use some of the support of Kanye, and to my discernment, the support of Kanye is money, because you acknowledge how he's one of the richest black men in history. And what I'm
Mhm.
saying is that the money that he has, okay,
Mhm.
we know how it's being provided to him and from who, and they still control that. Okay, what I'm saying is that we doesn't have to get our hopes up high to even ask for $1 of that money. If he was sincere in giving it, he would have been and gave it. That's what we said. If he
No.
had
He
that
is giving
liberty,
it.
he would have
No,
been and gave it.
No. Hold on, Dog. Who is we?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's what I'm
Okay.
saying. It ain't what you saying. It's
Okay.
what I'm saying. My
Yeah. Right.
discernment.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
if you go back, Nadav, I gave a history of him giving and supporting brothers who were in need. I gave you a
Mhm.
track record of him giving and providing for people who are in need who have been punished by the system. And so we're contextualizing a celebrity. We're not contextualizing a liberator. You know what I'm saying? So I know maybe he's not up. Again, remember I said I know I'm going to get pushback for even talking about Kanye because there are people that are in our school of thought who don't even think these topics are even relevant to the conversation. And so what I'm trying to do is to bridge the gap and try to show you how everybody is relevant to the conversation and how you use everybody in your liberation. You don't use people just because they have the same school of thought as you. You are a liberator. You are a God. You are a creator. So that have to be creative in the way that you actually institute liberation. So this is the context we're talking about. We wasn't talking about Kanye in the sense of this man had any answers in regards to our liberation. We were talking about Kanye in the sense that this man possessed some qualities that he would invest in those who are. That's all we were saying.
Yeah,
That's
let me
all.
jump in real
That's
quick.
what.
My
Yeah.
I didn't block my camera out. The camera went dead on me. I
Oh, what
apologize for
happened?
that.
Oh
The
wow.
camera, yeah, it's just the
I
battery went
I
dead.
just want to let you know that I understand your point of view, brother Kanaya. You're
Yeah.
saying we just hope that he brother Kanye be flexible and compassionate to his his kind,
Yes, sir.
and he, flood a little financial support and behind
No,
what
but
we
no,
doing.
that's not how we limit. We don't limit our brothers in that way, Nadab. Just because we can't be self-righteous in that accent.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are on the right path to God. That don't mean we look down and we frown upon those who are not. See, that's not where we need to be in this phase of liberation. Every brother has value, and it's for us to be compassionate and empathetic enough to see their value, to raise them up from the dead and utilize them for our liberation. See, you got me preaching today, but you brought it out of me, but you didn't know that was in me. It's in me. I don't talk that. I let Yosef talk that because, again, this is the prince and the professor. My job is to actually bring some of the more practical sense of pragmatism to the conversation, but Prince's job is to bring the more spiritual aspect. So I stay in my lane, but when I have to come out my lane, I will, because we got to bring context to all these different topics. But we cannot be self-righteous to the point where we look down upon our people. That is destructive in the liberation process. We got to be able to see the value in our brothers and our sisters and be able to utilize them to whatever extent, whether it's a dime or whether it's a hammer. Whatever they can provide for us, we gonna use. That's for people who are serious about liberation.
Well, Nadav,
You're talking about contribution.
Yes,
You're talking about contribution,
right.
brother.
Thank you so much, Nadav. As we wrap up, man. Again, it's a beautiful brother. It's my brother. It's our brother, Nadav.
Yes, sir.
Calling from the Holy Land, so we thank you so much.
Hallelujah.
Real quick, just for you, brother, just for you.
Who is this?
You want to give them a shout out real quick of the Power Within, where they can find it at real quick before we cut it off?
Oh, yeah, that's what's up.
You talking to me, Brother Malik Yosef?
Yes, sir. I said before we go ahead and disconnect, you wanted to give a quick shout out to the Power Within so they can know where to find you at?
Oh, the Power Within.
Yes, sir.
Oh man, I'm gonna go on and give a shout out. I'm gonna go on and give a shout out to the sentence that Lauryn Hill, brought forth in one of her tracks. She said, "How we gonna win when we ain't right within?"
Yes, sir.
And so
definitely ain't gonna win.
Okay.
My whole objective, is to let everyone know that when I wrote the poem Within, I was actually hospitalized. And that's when I found, the word compassion, the attribute compassion. I wrote it, by the spirit of Yah, invested in his power in me to go on and humble myself and write the poem Within. Within, it may seem like a very short poem. It may seem like, it's just a minute and 37 seconds on track. It may seem like, it's not valuable. It's just a CD with one track. But Within is, you can think of it as the vision in 1966. That was a 45-second vision.
Yes, sir.
But look what we can build off of that. We have a whole kingdom, a whole group of body coming back into their consciousness about nationalism, about their ethnicities and everything. Yes, and so when you hear Within, it immediately bring you to acknowledge 100 trillion cells within the body. Man, it immediately bring you to the focus of your thoughts, of your cohesiveness, of mental clarity. It immediately brings your focus to organizing your emotions.
Yes, sir.
Understanding, coming into the realization of prophetic restraint. Yes, of knowing how to hold our composure, of knowing what is divine diplomacy. Divine diplomacy, which is diplomacy pleasing unto Yah, meaning the man who had studied to show himself approved. And so this is where we find ourselves today.
Hallelujah.
Getting right within, and so we can share that love from within to without.
Yes, sir. Well, I thank you so much, brother. I ain't trying to rush you, but we got to wrap up. But definitely drop that link in the chat, brother. Drop that link in the chat so we can support you and we can have access to all that you do. We love you, brother, and I look forward to speaking with you privately. Peace and blessings, brother.
Most definitely. Brother Murray Kanaya, I just want to tell you that, your book is good. I'm going to continue to promote it. Brother Malik Yosef, I'm letting you know, even though we haven't spoken a very long time, I know you're a man a family man like I as well.
Yes,
and I'm also promoting Black royalty because it's important and imperative that we support Black-owned businesses and support, Black nationalism and Black empowerment, which is the culture.
Yes, sir. Love you, brother. Peace. All right, Moray. I guess
all right, you got to give your final thoughts on that whole exchange because that was interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he brought, and then you close out because that was an interesting dynamic. I'm so happy he came on.
Yeah.
Because it shows you the spectrum of consciousness and the streams of consciousness everybody is going in.
Yeah.
And how if we don't get a grasp of how to put these streams together or link them, we gonna be in some trouble.
Yes, facts. And that's a critical point. And I want those who are watching it live, as you go back and replay it and hear the exchange between me and the professor, it's not so much that we disagree, and I don't think we disagree at all. Even when we are on opposing sides of an argument, we both agree. It's just, the different perspectives and nuance that must be taken into account to get a comprehensive understanding. And so, as I articulated, I said, no, brother has to be utilized. He has to be uplifted. He has to be honored and respected, because what he's doing, he doesn't have to do. To say the things that he's saying, he does not have to say. To place money in places that he has, he does not have to do. He don't owe us, quote unquote, anything, but he does if he understands the power of the connectivity to his people and why it's relevant. So that alone, for him to do that, shows a high level of consciousness. The only position that I was taking is that with that understanding comes another evolution that, okay, because I'm still flawed and those who are less discerning, they're not going to be able to differentiate my good from what my not so good. I ain't gonna say bad, but that's
what the brother he didn't. First of all, there's people who have not been following Kanye, right? And Nadav is a younger brother, so he's not my peer. Kanye is my peer, so we kind of grew up. Like I grew up listening to Kanye, right? So there's certain things about him and his history that I know, and so when you see these individuals. And any brother, right? It's important that we first learn their history, right? Know who they are, and then we can begin to critique them to help them get to the path or get on the path that we need these brothers to get on. But we can't do that unless we have some type of context surrounding them. And so that's what we was doing today. We wanted to bring context, who Kanye was and what he was about, who he is and who he is not. Right?
Yes.
So
that's critical because it's gonna take all of us,
it's gonna take every person.
But we can't expect for all of us to be at the same level. That's not it's not feasible.
No, it's not fair.
It's not practical. And it shouldn't be.
It ain't practical.
Because we all got our gifts, we all got our talents, we all got our role and position. The thing is, the reason why we're having this conversation relative to Kanye and in everybody, and I want the audience to hear this, is because what we want you to do, whatever your job is, whatever your position is, you give it that full effort. And you give it the full effort relative to the liberation of our people. That's all that we ask.
Teach. What John Henry Clark say? We
don't have no friends? That one?
No. He say, do what you do best do it for your people.
And do it for
it don't matter what you do. If you know how to dig a hole, you dig a hole for your people. And if you know how to inspire people with your music, you inspire people with your do what you do best and do it for your people. That's the liberation struggle we in.
That's
the practical aspect of it.
That's the practical. That's the only way we're going to see any real progress. So with that being said, Moray, well, we put the work in today, man. We definitely had lively out of conversation, even though there were number of hindrances that tried to impede upon us having this monumental conversation. Next week, the show will be live on the Prince and Professor Podcast YouTube page. This will be uploaded to, it's already on mine. I'm going to keep it on this one, but I'm going to subsequently upload it to that page this evening, so it'll be available for the playback. When we share that link, we're going to share it on the Prince and Professor page instead of this one, but you can come back and watch it here if you're already on it. Again, man, it's something special we doing. And when brother get over here, we're going to be in the same place together. It's going to be even more live.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting.
So these conversations is good because now we having them in public.
Yeah. So, hey man, and so
now we having them in public.
Share, like, and subscribe. I hate to be that guy, but we got to get it out there. We got to combat that narrative of inclusion, of submissiveness, of us being in a docile, complacent place. That time is up. This unity is up. I got a saying, ain't no black man my enemy, ain't no black man my op. I need to make that on a t-shirt. You know what I'm saying? So even when we're critiquing our brothers, we're doing it in love, we're doing it in respect, and we're doing it in the principles of black empowerment and most importantly, black liberation. So
we gonna give them their mark.
Facts.
If you get an F, you get an F.
Yeah. But if
you get a D, you get a D.
There's room for improvement, though. But it's still room for improvement.
Room for improvement.
Facts. So this was pretty. All our conversations gonna be civil, brother. But I'm sure it's gonna be some times, depending on the subject matter, we may go at it. Hey, if we have a conversation about Malcolm, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, the conversation gonna be fire. And I ain't gonna tell you which side I lay on, which side he lay on. But the conversation gonna be fiery. So it's some conversations that ain't gonna be as simple as this one, but it's always.
Yeah, you had to throw that. You ready for that Malcolm talk? I don't think you ready for that smoke,
man. Hey, man, I was trained well.
I don't think you ready for that smoke.
I was trained well. With that being said, brother, hey, man.
All right,
brothers and sisters. Again, we ain't got no more callers. We don't have no more guests. Cool, that's fine. Share, like, subscribe. The conversation doesn't end here. Remember. We are active in the comment section. We're going to be active in the comment section. You have any questions, we will respond. You know what I'm saying? If it ain't nothing stupid, we're definitely going to engage with you. And, let's keep it going, man. Black empowerment, black liberation, black freedom for all black people, man. With that being said, man, from my brother, the Professor Moray Kananya, and myself, I'm the Prince, Melik Yosef. We leave you in peace, man. Shalom, shalom. Peace and blessings. Black empowerment.